Tonight, we'll take you to the darkest corners of the American forests. In our first story, 4 teens camping by the quiet lake at Medford Lakes will come face to face with an unknown entity rising from the depths of the water. In our second story, you'll hear what happens to John hiking alone in the Appalachian woods, an old cabin, mysterious tracks. Both stories are filled with real fear and suspense. Get ready.
I'm Mike. That summer, right after graduation, my friends and I went camping. Jenna, Carl, Rosie, and me. We found this quiet spot by the lake in Medford Lakes. Tall pines, still water, the kind of place that feels too calm to be real. We set up our tents, lit a fire. Music, beer, laughter. For a while, life felt perfect. But around midnight, everything changed. The wind stopped. Even the birds went silent. Then, something moved in the water. Jenna pointed her flashlight toward the shore. There was a mark, a trail, like something had been dragged backward into the lake. 3 deep grooves, not animal, not human. Carl tried to laugh. "Probably a deer," he said, but I saw his hand shaking. Then we heard it, a sound, low, like breathing, coming from the lake. I aimed my light and saw it. A handprint pressed into the mud, then gone. Rosie's voice trembled. "Something's watching us." We sat in silence, the fire crackling softly. The sky was pitch black. Even the moon was gone. Then I saw them. Out in the middle of the lake, 2 pale lights, eyes, staring straight at us. "Do you see that?" I whispered. Everyone turned, and just like that, they vanished. The night grew colder. Somewhere near the water, something moved. Slow steps, splashing. Carl muttered, "A deer, has to be." But no one believed that. Eventually, we crawled into our tents. I just closed my eyes when I heard whispering, soft, right outside. Someone was talking. Mike's zipper opened slowly. He stepped out with his flashlight. "Who's out there?" Nothing. Only wind. Then a branch snapped. Footsteps. Silence. When he came back, his face was white. "There's nobody out there, but someone was walking by the lake." No one slept that night. When morning came, Rosie stared at the water. Was there really someone out there, or did we imagine it? Mike didn't answer, because in the shallow water, there were footprints, bare feet, leading into the lake and not coming back. That second night, a light appeared across the lake. At first, we thought it was a flashlight, but it flickered on and off like it was breathing. Jenna threw her binoculars. She said, "There's a cabin over there." But it wasn't on the map, and nobody was supposed to be camping on that side. Then we saw them, new tracks in the mud, not leading to us, leading out of the lake. Carl stood up. "I'm going to check it out." We told him not to. Rosie begged him to stop, but he didn't listen. He grabbed the light and disappeared into the trees. A thin mist rose from the lake. The air was cold, but the water looked like it was boiling. Shadows moved between the trees. Then Carl was gone. We waited by the fire. The light across the lake kept flickering, and the forest whispered. Around midnight, the fire was dying. Jenna suddenly screamed. She ran toward the lake. I followed with the flashlight. And there it was, something standing in the water, tall, pale, human but not. No eyes, no expression, just watching. "Carl!" I shouted, but the echo was the only thing that answered. By morning, Jenna and Carl were gone, their tent still standing, half-zipped from the inside. The sheriff came. They found signs of a boat, but no one had seen a boat. The ground was covered in strange marks, not footprints, three-pronged tracks circling the tents and ending right at the lake. When we finally left, that smell followed us, heavy, rotten, not fish, not algae, something else. Later, Rosie found Jenna's shirt. It had a white residue on it, the same stuff we'd found inside the tent. Cold, sticky, almost alive. We whispered, "What is it?" But deep down, we already knew. After that night, we were never the same. Years passed, but every time I sit by a campfire, I swear I feel it again. That presence, that thing beneath the water. Rosie texted me once. "The light came back." That's all she wrote. 4 of us went out that summer. Only 2 came back. The lake is still there. And I swear, whatever was watching us that night is still there.
Stories about lone hikers always carry a different kind of soul, because solitude makes a person hear their own voice like it's something to be afraid of. In the autumn of 1986, John had just graduated from college. He was quiet, thoughtful, and believed that being alone in nature was liberating. So he set out, alone, into the Appalachian forests. His map was old, his compass reliable. But a few hours in, a thick fog rolled down the slopes, and the trails began to twist into one another. By sunset, John realized he was lost. The cold spread quickly. If he didn't find shelter before nightfall, he risked hypothermia. Then he saw it, a faint light in the distance. It looked like a window glowing through the trees. A small cabin stood hidden among the pines, wooden, crooked-roofed. No smoke from the chimney, but a warm, steady light seeping through the window. When he reached the door, it was half open. Inside was a table, a cup of coffee, and a radio. The radio was silent, but the room smelled of fresh pine and something sharper like old gas lanterns. John stepped in. Behind the door hung a note, "Come inside for the night." The ink was faded. His heartbeat quickened. Part of him felt relief, warmth, a roof, maybe even a phone. But the handwriting, it looked rushed, almost childlike. Then he noticed the photographs. Old, black and white pictures nailed to the wall. Faces blurred, eyes scratched out, dark smudges over every expression. In one of them, the same cabin appeared decades earlier. The dates ranged from the 1940s to the 1960s. Some photos had torn edges and faint trails behind the people, as if they'd walked down a narrow path and never returned. John wrapped himself in a blanket and fiddled with the radio. It worked, but only hissed static. Then a sound came, not from the radio, from beneath the floorboards. A faint tapping, slow,
steady, like something knocking in rhythm. John crept to the window. Through the fog, between the trees, something moved. A figure, two-legged, but wrong. Its walk was jerky, uneven. Every few steps it stopped and tilted its head. As night deepened, the noises multiplied. First, whispers, then the moaning of the wind, then the groaning of trees rubbing together, and finally, voices. When John looked out again, he froze. Around the cabin, figures had gathered. Bent bodies, motionless silhouettes, not quite people. Each had their hands covering their faces, murmuring in low tones. Then one of them lifted its head. No eyes, just two dark holes. John stumbled back, gasping, his heart hammered in his chest. He ran toward the door and stopped. On the threshold was a footprint, wet, muddy, but not human. 3 sharp prongs like a bird's claw. He swallowed hard, grabbed his bag, and ran toward the back door. But hanging from the doorway was a torn piece of fabric, his own shoelace, as if something had tried to pull it upward. He turned back. The cabin's window, those black holes where faces had been, were now gone, covered, watching. And on the front door, written in fresh, shaky handwriting, was a single word: John. By morning, the search team found his glove near the trail. It had 3 fresh scratches across the leather. Inside the cabin, they found no one, but on the wall, an old photograph showed the same cabin and the man wearing John's exact shirt. The date on the photo, 1952. In a drawer beneath the radio, they found a notebook. Pages full of names, some dated from the 1940s and 1950s, some crossed out completely. At the very bottom, a new line had been added. Another one came. Over the years, locals kept telling stories, hikers disappearing near the old trail, time twisting in the forest, a figure known as the keeper of the cabin, seen only at night. Real or legend, no one knows, but John never came back, and the cabin became a whispered warning among hikers, a story traded in low voices around campfires. Solitude can be tempting, but in the forest, sometimes loneliness is an invitation. And when you open the door, you might never come back out.